I am Eric, a successful business executive in one of the largest corporations in the world. I have everything I could ever want, a beautiful wife, a luxurious home, and a thriving career. However, all of that changed in an instant when I received a call from my boss regarding the company's largest client. Eric, we have a situation. Our largest client is considering pulling out of their contract with us, he said, his voice tense. I was stunned. This client represented a significant portion of our company's revenue, and losing them would be a catastrophic blow. I asked what the problem was, and my boss hesitated before telling me the shocking news. They've expressed concerns about our commitment to diversity and inclusion. Apparently, they've noticed that our executive team is entirely made up of men, and they want to see some women in leadership positions, he said. I was stunned. This was the first time I'd ever heard of such a thing, and I couldn't believe that our lack of diversity was putting our business at risk. I asked what we could do to fix the problem, and my boss told me that we had just one chance to save the deal. We need a woman to represent our company at the next meeting with the client, and since you're the one who will be leading the presentation, we need you to dress as a woman, he said matter-of-factly. I was horrified. I had never dressed as a woman before, and the thought of doing so in front of a room full of people was frightening. But I knew that I had to do whatever it took to save the company, so I agreed to do it, and my boss gave me a list of instructions on how to prepare. I was nervous as I shopped for women's clothing and had my hair and makeup done. I felt like a fraud, like I was betraying who I truly was, but as I stood in front of the mirror, staring at my reflection, I couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement as well. I was about to embark on an adventure, and I was going to do whatever it took to save the company and prove my commitment to diversity and inclusion. So, with a deep breath, I stepped out into the world, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The meeting with the client was scheduled for the next day, and I spent the entire night going over my presentation, trying to push the thought of having to dress as a woman out of my mind. I woke up early the next morning and started getting ready. I was nervous, but I was also determined to do whatever it took to save the company. As I got dressed, I couldn't help but feel self-conscious. I was used to wearing suits and ties, not dresses and heels, but I reminded myself of the importance of the meeting and pushed my nerves aside. I applied my makeup, put on my wig, and stepped out of the bathroom ready to face the day. My wife was waiting for me in the living room, and she looked shocked when she saw me. Eric, is that really you? She asked, her eyes wide. I nodded, feeling self-conscious all over again. I have to do this to save the company, I said. She nodded, understanding. You look amazing, she said, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. I arrived at the office and headed straight to the conference room where the meeting was being held. As I entered, I felt a sense of dread wash over me. The room was full of people, and I was about to present as a woman for the first time ever, but I pushed my nerves aside and stepped up to the podium, determined to do whatever it took to save the company. The presentation went better than I could have ever imagined. I was nervous at first, but as I started speaking, I found that I was able to connect with the client in a way that I never had before. They were impressed with my knowledge of the company and my commitment to diversity and inclusion, and by the end of the meeting, they had agreed to renew their contract. After the meeting, I was relieved and proud of myself, but I was also exhausted. The weight of the day's events was starting to take its toll on me, and I was grateful when the meeting was over. I returned to my office and started packing up my things, ready to go home and relax. But as I was leaving, my boss approached me. Eric, I just wanted to say thank you. You saved the company today, he said, a sense of gratitude in his voice. I smiled, feeling proud of myself. I'm just glad I could help, I said, and then headed home, ready to rest and reflect on the day's events. But as the days went by, I found myself becoming more and more fascinated with cross-dressing. I had always been a traditional man, content with my life as it was, but now I found myself wanting to explore this new side of myself. I started to wear women's clothing more frequently, experimenting with different styles and looks, and I found that I loved the way it made me feel. I was torn between my old life and this new one that was slowly taking hold of me. I was scared of what my wife and friends would think if they found out, but at the same time, I couldn't deny the thrill that I felt whenever I dressed as a woman. I started to attend events as a woman, and I was amazed by the positive attention I received. People were drawn to me. They found me charming and confident, and I couldn't help but feel flattered by the attention. And as I explored this new side of myself, I found that I was becoming more confident in my personal and professional life as well. I was taking on new challenges at work, and I was finding that I was more assertive and self-assured than ever before. But as much as I enjoyed my new life as a woman, I knew that it was a secret that I couldn't keep forever. I was afraid of the consequences of my actions, and I didn't know how I was going to explain my newfound love of cross-dressing to my wife and friends. But despite my fears, I found myself becoming more and more enamored with the life I was living, and I knew that I couldn't give it up. The experience of cross-dressing changed me in ways I never could have imagined. I was no longer the same person I was before, and I couldn't ignore the feelings of excitement and empowerment that had come with it. I found myself constantly thinking about the next time I could dress as a woman, and I was fascinated by the way it made me feel. But I also knew that I couldn't ignore my responsibilities as a husband and a business executive. I couldn't let this newfound passion consume me and risk everything I had worked so hard for. So I made a decision to keep it a secret, to lock it away, and only indulge in it privately. But I will never forget the journey I took and the person I became. I learned that true success isn't just about achieving your goals, but also about being true to yourself and embracing every aspect of who you are. And as I look back on my experience, I couldn't help but feel grateful for the opportunity to grow and evolve in ways I never thought possible.